I want to briefly talk about two issues which developed after we published our update. And the one has to do with Brexit. Now, what I'm telling you right now is probably not going to be in the next update, because by the time the next update is going to come out, some of the things which we are bringing to your attention now in a question format will have been answered. But the first one was an article published by The Independent on December 7, talking about Ireland's DUP party and Tory rebels have poured cold water over a desperate compromise bid to win over MPs to Theresa May's Brexit deal, ahead of a Commons showdown which threatens her leadership and her government. And that plan had to do with a concept to extend the transition period beyond December 2020. And of course, DUP leader Arlene Foster rejected that proposal outright. And it says this casts further doubt on Mrs. May's ability to win the vote, which is going to be this coming Tuesday. Now, here former Brexit Minister Steve Baker make an interesting comparison. I never heard that before. Maybe it's a British expression. He says, giving parliaments a choice between the devil and the deep blue sea is desperate and will persuade very few. Mrs. Adair's nodding, so she might have heard that comparison. I never did, but the idea is like it's not going to work. The Guardian wrote today, December 8, that on signing an agreement with the British Prime Minister last month, Juncker described the draft withdrawal treaty and accompanying political declaration on the future relationship as the deal, the only possible deal. And May also has said there is no scope for any further negotiation in Brussels. Now, as I said, the Parliament will decide on Tuesday whether they are going to accept that deal or not. The question is, what's going to happen if they don't accept it? And this article says it's increasingly likely that they are not going to accept it. And then there are only two alternatives: either no deal or a second referendum, meaning no Brexit. I don't believe that's going to be happening, that there's not going to be any Brexit. So we have a potentiality of no deal whatsoever. Now the question is, what is the EU going to do? Are they still going to engage in negotiations after that, even though they said they wouldn't? And some felt they might. Romano Prodi, who is a former European Commission president, says, oh, we're probably still going to have some negotiation going. But then the question is, are the EU member states willing to do this? Because they would all have to agree to that. And the article points out, well, they had already a hard time getting the deal done because of the idea regarding Gibraltar and other problems with fishing rights. But then it says that there is also almost a consensus in Brussels that the withdrawal agreement containing the most contentious part of the deal, the so-called backstop for avoiding a hard border on the island of Ireland through keeping the UK in a custom union indefinitely, cannot be touched. Now, those who are for Brexit in the UK are absolutely against this. And so the question is, what's going to happen? Now, I will not give any prognostication here because I don't know whether on Tuesday they will accept the deal or won't. However, what we do know is that a Brexit is going to happen. Whether it's going to be decided on Tuesday, whether the EU and they are coming together on Thursday to discuss all of this, it's 2 days later. What they are going to come up with, we don't know yet. It's something to watch. But again, things are sometimes funny the way they develop. Because here is another really funny and totally unexpected and surprising outcome insofar as Germany is concerned. Now, you might have heard it. Of course, Angela Merkel stepped down as the party leader, and she was replaced by somebody who wasn't supposed to be the one replacing her. Her name is Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. Now, even the Germans have a problem with remembering that name, and so she is being abbreviated as AKK. Not KKK, that's different, AKK, right? Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. All right, So she is a rising star now in Merkel's party, but not that rising because she only got a 51.75% voting right after the second turnaround. And then in this case, she lost against Friedrich Merz, who was looked upon as the one who's going to replace Merkel. And now most people are saying, oh, because of that now, so Angela Merkel is now going to stay in power as a chancellor until 2021, because AKK was a protege of Merkel. And so they got along fine, is the idea. And if Merz would have been the one, they would not have gone and got along fine. However, even those papers too, like in this case Handelsblatt Global, point out that Merkel might stay in power and AKK might be then the next chancellor after Merkel. They say this: Kramp-Karrenbauer is now the person most likely to become the next chancellor of Europe's largest economy when Merkel resigns in 2021 or earlier, if she is forced out of office by internal political strife, or should her coalition with the Social Democrats collapse. AKK could set different ideas and accents in Merkel in dealing with Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, immigration, and indebted Eurozone countries. The new party leader is expected to broadly continue the chancellor's policies and style, and that's a problem. Because, you see, Merkel had to resign because the Germans didn't like what she was doing. And now here comes AKK, and she wants to continue that legacy. Also, the fact that she was the protege of Angela Merkel and that Angela Merkel preferred her over everybody else to be her successor may not mean much. Because there was a time when Helmut Kohl strongly supported Angela Merkel until Angela Merkel stabbed him in the back and was responsible, instrumental for Helmut Kohl to step down. Sometimes history has a funny way of repeating itself. Now back to AKK. She was the one, and I quoted her last week, who said that the United States and Europe should consider blockading Russian ships over the Ukrainian crisis, meaning sending in warships. She's a 56-year-old lawyer, a self-professed strict Catholic. And so she is totally against Jens Spahn. He was one of the other two competitors, who is a openly gay person living together with a partner. And he is for marriage for all. And AKK is against that. But the party is completely and totally divided. And AKK knows that. And so she's trying to unite it somehow. An article by BBC wrote that as a practicing Catholic, she has expressed concerns about giving same-sex couples full adoption rights. She's also in favor of reinstating year-long military or social service. All right? Advocating the draft, again in Germany. Now, there are more things I could say about her, and we will have some more articles published in the next update, but I'd like to just give you a brief summary as to what already happened. After she was elected by a very, very slim margin as the successor to Angela Merkel, after that victory, AKK was busy trying to solidify her deeply divided party. And based on her nomination, one of her critics, conservative, and I might say very conservative, 33-year-old Paul Ziemiak was elected as General Secretary. That will be taking care of the day-to-day affairs, but he only got 62.8%. When AKK became the secretary, and she was nominated by Merkel, she got 98.9%. So at that time, the party was united. Now they are totally divided. Also, the party elected a new board. Ursula von der Leyen, who is Germany's defense minister, became one of the 5 vice chairmen But she only got 57.5%. It's expected they get 80, 90%, if the party would be divided. But here comes Jens Spahn. That is a guy who was, one of the two other challengers, the openly gay guy. He was elected as chairman of the CDU presidency. And he got 89% of the votes, high amount. And it's unclear at this point what Friedrich Merz, the other contender, who almost got as many votes as AKK, what he's going to do. So they don't know yet. Now, I thought it was interesting that Jens Spahn, who is not seeing eye to eye with AKK, got such a high position. And of course, we don't want to say an awful lot more than that, except for the biblical prophecies talking about people coming to power who were actually not necessarily meant to come to power. Now, I hate to give any prognostications on that one either, but I would have to say this. I do not believe, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I do not believe that Angela Merkel will stay in power as a chancellor until 2021. I think changes will happen. I don't believe the CDU will be all that successful and might very well have internal problems, so much so that Angela Merkel will have to resign. I don't believe that AKK is going to be the next chancellor either. But we have to watch as to what is going to happen. There are male candidates, and we know that the beast has to be a male. He can come from Germany, he can come from Austria. We have to watch that too. Can't be a woman. We will have pretty soon some articles on characteristics of the beast, what to watch for, what kind of a description the Bible gives about him. And then we can look at candidates. Somebody recently asked me the question whether I believe that a very famous former defense minister who had to step down would be the one, a count. And there's one church group, they have been dogmatically saying, yeah, he is the one, he is the beast. I don't believe so. Because in looking at his characteristics, in looking at what he stands for, that doesn't fit. So you have to see how it fits. And there are some, it might fit better than others. So we just have to wait and to see, and that's why we are supposed to watch.